Hey guys, and welcome to a very special series, the Seahawks Top 10. I'm your host Joshua, aka Darth Cripple on Twitter. And today I want to look at the top 10 one-year wonders in Seahawks history. A caveat here before we get into the list itself is that these players didn't necessarily play for only a year in Seattle, but they only had one standout year, one impressive year, one season impactful year. And so I wanted to compile a list of the most interesting cases, and I came up with this list. If you agree with me, if you don't, I'd love to hear your comments after we go through the list. So let's get started, shall we? Number 10, Steve Niehaus. The first ever draft pick by Seattle in 1976, Steve Niehaus was a nose tackle out of Notre Dame. Playing with the likes of Richard Harris and Dave Tipton on the defensive line in that inaugural season, Steve Niehaus recorded 9.5 sacks, a rookie record that still stands today for the Seattle Seahawks. However, unfortunately, due to a series of knee injuries in 1977 and 78, Steve Niehaus was unable to follow up his impressive campaign, which netted him NFC Defensive Rookie of the Year in 1976. And so, Seattle's first ever draft pick, looking impressive in his rookie campaign, was really never able to live up to a long career of continued success. Number 9, Koren Robinson. Drafted 9th overall in the first round of the 2001 draft, Koren Robinson had a sophomore explosion rather than a slump, notching 78 catches, 1,240 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Though he would be captured by personal demons off the field that derailed any potential, he had a middling season in 2004, never recaptured his abilities on the field, and was cut in June of 2005. He would return to the team in 2008, but only as a reminder of the potential lost. Number 8, Mike Fanning. Mike was a Chuck Knox guy as a Los Angeles Ram, a former first-round pick of that same team. Mike came to Seattle after spending 8 of his 9 previous seasons with the Rams. Mike was a bench player who was key to Seattle's third-down pass rush in 1984, as they went from their base 3-4 defensive front to a 4-3, teaming next to Joe Nash as a 3-tech pass rusher, even sliding out to play defensive end. He notched 7 sacks in his one season with Seattle, including back-to-back sacks against the San Diego Chargers in a Monday night shutout. Number 7, Joe Jurevicius. A 2005 signing by Tim Ruskell to replace the outgoing Koren Robinson, Jurevicius had an even bigger role after Seattle lost both Bobby Ingram and Darrell Jackson for several weeks following its contest with the Washington Redskins. Joe stepped up to help open a deep passing game and replace Darrell Jackson's red zone targets. His 55 receptions and 10 touchdown catches were both career highs. He left the next season in free agency when Cleveland offered him a contract, and Joe wanted a chance to return to his hometown in Ohio. Number 6, Jeremy Stevens. Drafted in 2002 in the first round, 28th overall, Stevens had repeated issues with off-the-field incidents and troubles with the pro-level learning curve, including Mike Holmgren's notoriously complex West Coast offense. In 2005, with injuries striking the team's receiving core, his 45 receptions, 554 yards, and 5 touchdowns were the best by any Seattle tight end in their then 30-year history. However, a knee injury early in the offseason prevented him from being able to play early in 2006, and after a dismal performance in the Super Bowl prior, he seemed to return to the lack of consistency that had plagued his career. So Seattle parted ways with him just a year later from his best franchise performance. Number 5, David Sims. No, not the Mariners announcer. Trust me, I checked. David Sims stood an impressive 6'3" and weighed in at 216 pounds. He was just a 7th round selection out of Georgia Tech, but quickly showed a nose for the end zone. He had 5 touchdowns in his rookie year on just 99 carries. Teamed with the versatile rushing and receiving threat of Sherman Smith, Sims became an excellent option while Smith played decoy. Featured in the sprint-out plays of Jim Zorn, utilizing the brainchild and versatility of Jack Patera's offense, Sims had an impressive sophomore campaign. He notched 752 yards rushing on just 174 carries and a whopping 14 rushing touchdowns. He also notched 30 receptions for 190 yards and another touchdown. All of this in just 12 games played, as he missed a couple of games due to an ankle problem. However, as many of these stories end on these one-year wonder players, a knee injury in 1978 ended his rather bright career, and Seattle then traded with the Giants to receive Dan Dornick to replace him. Number 4, Rick Mirer. Most people will know him as one of the biggest draft busts ever in history. His rookie campaign said the pick of number 2 overall in the draft in 1993 was looking quite good, though. His 3,176 total yards, passing and rushing, with 15 touchdowns overall, put him second in Rookie of the Year voting. A vote lost to Jerome Bettis, who also played with Mirer in college at Notre Dame. Though his career never reached great height, his rookie campaign was well beyond the 6'7" freak show flameout that was Dan McGuire. Number 3, Marcus Tubbs. In 2005, the light went on for this first-round pick. Selected 23rd overall by the Seattle Seahawks in 2004, he didn't see much of the field as an impact player as he played behind Cedric Woodard. His selection seemed all but assured to be a big hit, though, following 2005. Teamed with the athleticism of Rocky Bernard and the solid technique of Chuck Darby, Tubbs anchored Seattle's best run defense since 1999, helping bring it to the top 10. His 5.5 sacks contributed to an impressive 50-sack pass rush, which led all of the NFL in 2005. Unfortunately, he was lost to a knee injury in 2006 during the Minnesota Vikings game, and despite rehabbing for a 2007 comeback, he would injure his other knee in the final preseason game of that year, and he would unfortunately never see another football field, as he would retire rather than try another rehab stint. Number 2, Mike Williams. In 2010, Seattle was looking at a receiving corps that needed a boost, and in the midst of talking heads putting every current NFL player who once played at USC on Pete Carroll's radar, Pete had been watching Mike Williams slowly make a comeback at the USC facilities before he'd taken the job with the Seahawks. The former Lions first-round pick had worn out his welcome in the NFL and every buffet he could hit outside of football practice and football games. His last game had been 2008 with the Tennessee Titans, under his former offensive coach at USC, Norm Chow. Pete decided to bring him in for a tryout, and Mike Williams would go on to record his best year ever in catches with 65 and yards with 751. Though most impressive was his 20 total receptions in back-to-back performances against the Arizona Cardinals. A leg injury and a QB switch the next season saw the comeback train derailed as Sidney Rice and Doug Baldwin had a little more to offer. Number 1, Patrick Kerney. Very few free agents at Kerney's age, 31 at the time, have recorded all-pro years, but that's what Kerney did in 2007, recording a well-earned 14.5 sacks, the most for a Seahawks since Michael Sinclair had recorded 16.5 in 1998. What made the season more impressive was 5 forced fumbles. He was also a runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year. In a long string of keep the window open free agent signings by GM Tim Ruskell, this is one of the rare cases where a man plays up to his payday, even if it is for only 1 year. His 3 sack games against the Bears and Arizona Cardinals were key to propelling that team into the playoffs at a 10-6 record. Age quickly caught up to him though, and as the talent dwindled around him on the D-line, he soon became just another cap sinkhole for Paul Allen's cash-shoveling football business of the mid-2000s. So there you have it, folks. My list of the Seahawks' top 10 one-year wonders. Did you like my list? Did I include everybody you think should be there? Are they in the right spot? I'd love to get your thoughts. If you're seeing this on Field Gulls, leave your comments in the comment thread below the video. If you're on YouTube, leave your comments there. I'd love to get your input. And we'll see you soon on the next Seahawks Top 10. I'm your host, Joshua, aka Darth Cripple, and I'll see you next time.